Hello and welcome to the Kuribros, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime recap podcast. I'm your host, Why Am I Crying in the Club, Phoenix. And joining me, my co-host, busting it down melancholy style, it's Andy. How you doing, Andy?
I'm busting a move, sweet Pippi, I'm busting a fucking move. Ooh, baby.
Getting freaky white boy style. Anyway, so we are here to bring you the latest in the ongoing saga of telling you what the hell happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show.
Yeah, we're gonna bust down a sweet rhyme and we're gonna tell you what happened last episode. Push it there, Phoenix. Yeah.
Last episode, we got to see what happens when Kaiba took on Pegasus, and that match where Kaiba thought he would get the upper hand on Pegasus by setting the terms for how they would duel, but Pegasus had his own trick up his sleeve, putting Mokuba in his place, and so Kaiba was forced to duel on Pegasus's terms, which is the terms that everyone has to duel on, and he lost, being unable to get past Pegasus's mystical powers of knowing what Kaiba's going to do. We got to see the debut of the Toon Monsters, and we also got to have a night of suspense, as we got to see Yugi have nightmares of the crucifixion done by his grandfather and the Kaiba brothers. We got to have some of the Friendship Squad rolling around Pegasus's castle looking for clues. We had Joey passed the fuck out, Bandit Keith snooping around into Joey's room to steal his entry card, and my Valentine being a responsible duelist, getting her 8 hours and getting ready for the tournament.
I'm actually... I know you want to bat for my here, but I'm pretty sure she stayed up most of the night getting her deck ready for the finals, which is still responsible. I'm not going to go against you on that, but I'm pretty sure she stayed up longer than she didn't get her 8 hours sleep. Either way, it was actually something I wanted to kind of talk about real quick, or something I kind of thought about as I was getting ready for this episode. I kind of feel like Kaiba's deck is a projection of himself, and I don't mean that like positively, because I feel like Kaiba made this deck in like a way where it's like, well, this would give me trouble if I had to take it on, so I'm going to use it I'm going to use it for myself. And then literally the way Pegasus beats him is with the Crush Card virus. So it's like kind of interesting how his own deck just kind of takes him out.
Yes, very much so. I would agree with you, because at this stage of what the game is, big power is still the thing that makes people shit their pants. So Kaiba having the strongest monsters in the game, 3,000 Blue Eyes, easiest to get out, is what makes him the best. And with the soggy Crush Card virus, makes so opponents can't play weak monsters, so he knows no one's going to be able to just, with one card, match a Blue Eyes, so he just banks heavily on that. But we've seen time and time again, he'll get stopped by like a Spellbinding Circle or some other tricky thing.
Yeah, he kind of doesn't... it's crazy because like he seems like a good duelist and he doesn't realize these kind of like basic plays that can get him out of it. But that's kind of why he's a lifeless corpse right now. And Pegasus is sitting in his chair watching teenagers duel to fight him. They're like fighting over him.
Yeah, Pegasus wasn't really there for much of these episodes that we watched, but the little bit that he was there for, I think, served his purpose, got out the way, let us get to the duels, which was nice to focus more on duels, and I guess part of the reason why they did that so much was because the previous episode of the night before the tournament did so much of a character focus.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that, like a lot of kind of expository with Pegasus, a lot of questions, and they kind of go into it a little more in different ways, but if you're kind of going with the manga or the anime, it's all weird, but we got there. We're here now. We're finally at the finals. So without further ado, I think we've stalled enough time. Do we want to kind of get into the first match of the finals?
I would love nothing more than to talk about this duel.
Well, how about you start getting into it?
So I shall. This one covers episodes 29 and chapters 55 and 57 of the manga. The episode opens with little Yugi in his room before the Friendship Squad joins him to go to the arena. he does a super smooth transition into Yami where he throws his coat on over his shoulders, and it's very much the style that he has in Battle City. And I'm guessing that this is something that carried forward into Battle City for Takahashi and how he wanted the character to look just that little bit cooler, and it works.
Yeah, it's a cape. Everyone looks cooler with a cape.
Yeah. The squad splits from Yami and Joey to go to the spectator area while the two duelists enter a room where Mai and Keith are already waiting. There's some banter between Mai and Yami and Keith and Joey, but Keith has an inner monologue where he reminds the audience that he stole the card Joey needs to enter the tournament last episode. The duelists then proceed to enter the arena, and Pegasus enters from the other side, where he has just a throne.
Yeah, it's like very, yeah, it's very Pegasus.
Yeah, very ostentatious, I'm going to sit in this nice chair. You all can stand up there in the balcony and hurt your necks watching this duel.
Well, aren't you the king of games if you win? So technically, right now, Pegasus is quote unquote the king of games.
I'm glad you brought that up, because as Pegasus enters, he reminds the audience and the cast of the stakes, the prizes for winning, and here is where he adds on the prize that whoever wins and beats him will be named the #1 duelist and the Duelist King, which I believe is the first time that title has been added as a reward for this tournament.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just the prize money and then like a wish, if I remember correctly.
Oh, those card game tournaments and their prize money and wish rewards. Mai and Yami stand at opposite ends of the duel field, and Croquet has them present their cards for the entry. Joey decides to go up and join the friendship squad in the viewing area so he can get a better view of the arena. Mai then reflects on her time in the show and how she's seen friendship in a new light because of how the squad has been a part of her life. However, in this moment, she does not believe that Yami is seeing her and is only thinking about dueling Pegasus. Disrespectful.
It's interesting because that's actually how. So kind of we're kind of gonna go ahead to go back. Is Yugi distracted by Pegasus in the sub, or is he distracted by like holding himself back because Yugi and Yami are at odds because of the Kaiba duel?
In the sub, it did not really reference the Kaiba duel. It was more of, and I'll go into this a bit more in a bit, but it was very much Yami was only thinking about him dueling Pegasus. He was not considering any of the stuff leading up to it. And he even says a line that I'll bring up now. He does say he does not think Mai is a tough enough duelist to beat him.
It's really interesting that that's how it is in the sub, because in the manga, that's what it is too. It's something I was actually going to bring up, but now I'm glad that the sub did it for me. That like in the dub, it's mostly Yugi himself, and this kind of goes into a whole nother discussion I wanted to have, because there's a little bit of confusion, but it's like Yugi is holding back Yami from playing his best because he doesn't want Yami to go all out, like lose control and do what he did to Kaiba and like attack,
do a murder.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess I get that in a sense, but also it's not those kinds of stakes right now, and I don't think Yami has ever exhibited those kinds of things before. This was mostly like a one-time thing. I mean, they do address it in the manga, but it's more of like like we balance each other out. Like you can hold me accountable for my actions, and I hold you accountable. Like I can lift you up when you need lifting up, kind of thing. So yeah, it was just interesting. I wanted to go over that. I probably wanted to go over it later, but what better time than now?
Yeah, the show will go on to show that there is a slight recurring problem of Yami always taking duels too seriously and refusing to lose no matter how low the stakes are, unless Yugi intervenes and reminds him, hey bro, it's a game.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And this kind of goes into my next thing. I don't get how they're trying to portray the two personas and like how the two souls are run in the one body. Because what it's seeming to imply right now, and I don't want to go off too much on a tangent on this, but I do really want to have a discussion on this, that Yugi, the modern day Yugi, is in the mind and Yami's controlling the body, but Yami's only listening to what Yugi is doing. Because it seems as though like Yugi's making the plays and then Yami's like, no, let me help you. Let me help you. And he's like, no, we're doing it my way kind of thing. But they never kind of really go into this anytime before. I mean, for a little while, it's like Yugi didn't even know that Yami was doing anything. So how are they trying to make that work? Or, what is going on here?
It definitely is something that I think they get better at showing in the future. Not necessarily with the two people who are supposed to be dueling in sync, but in this series at least, showing that Yami and Yugi talking with each other during a match and going over what's happening together. Whereas for right now, at the very least in the sub, I don't think that Yugi, when he is inside the mind, he says anything to Yami directly. The most he ever did was when he came out during the Kaiba duel and took over. There is a little bit during this match where his spirit is sort of shown to be working in sync with Yami, but it's not said, it's shown.
Yeah, it's never real. Well, and that's the thing is they use those scenes to kind of go like make it work with the story of Yugi's fighting with Yami on how to make the duel work. I mean, the plot beats with this duel are generally the same. It's just the motivation of why Yugi and Yami are kind of not playing to the best of their abilities towards Mai. And I like it with Yami kind of being in control and like, yeah, they're going to be in sync and they're going to work together at this point. But having kind of Yami look past Mai as a duelist, having that kind of naivety or I guess that overconfidence, not really naivety, the overconfidence of being like, well, I've been the best duelist this entire series, so why would I even have any trouble against someone who got beat by Joey?
Yeah.
And then kind of move on, like have his focus be mostly on the Millennium guy, because he's also a Millennium guy. But instead of this whole, I don't know what to do, don't help me, I don't know. It just kind of doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense, but doesn't.
I can see how they were trying to bring up this conflict, but it's also something that should have been resolved in the last time we saw Mai after her duel with Taya, when Yugi got his resolve after watching them duel and hearing them talk. So it's kind of retreading ground we've already covered.
Yeah, this is kind of why I don't really like it. It's kind of redundant. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like the manga, Yugi already kind of more or less moves past it. He's a little unbalanced, but this is the duel where he gets that balance back. But that's more of a let's trust each other and win this thing, and like let's keep focused rather than, oh, I don't trust you. Oh, well, please trust me. No, you almost killed my enemy. Forgivesies. I don't know. So that's just kind of my 2 cents and my little tangent. We can get back to the episode now.
Yeah, it's got weird beats, not perfect execution, but we get there eventually.
Yay.
At the start of the duel, Mai going first, and Yami calls out if she's going to be using her perfume trick again, which Mai responds that she will not, because it will not even work on Yami, because he knows at this point. Yami hears where he has the internal thought that Mai isn't even good enough duelist to beat him, so he's not going to worry about it. Kind of a dick move for an honorable duelist.
Yeah.
Mai summons the Harpy Lady and sets a card in the back row. Yami's turn, and he plays Gaia the Fierce Knight and goes into attack. Mai responds by activating Mirror Wall in response, which halves Gaia's attack power, and on Mai's turn, she plays Cyber Armor, putting it on the Harpy Lady to buff it up, and then destroying Gaia. Yami, not paying any attention to the duel, summons Summoned Skull, putting 1 card in his back row before attacking again, but Mirror Wall will once again have the power because Mirror Wall is a continuous trap card. Mirror Wall does have this effect of having the attack points of attacking monsters, of your opponent's attacking monsters, but it does have the downside of you have to pay 2,000 life points during your standby phase or get rid of this card. They only start with 2,000 life points, so we're just going to ignore that, I guess. This is going to be Mai's bullshit card of this duel, which is going to be vastly outnumbered by the amount of bullshits that Yugi and Yami pull off. And I'll complain about that later.
Crazy. More bullshit from the protagonist.
Oh, yeah. The squad looking on thinks that Yami is not focused up on the match, which is why he keeps misplaying, and Mai shares this sentiment. Mai tells Yami that his duelist aura is off and he has no fighting spirit for this match. She calls him conceited to think so little of their duel, and I agree.
At one point, she's goading him, and Yami actually gets aggravated with her, and she even says something along the lines of, aggressive men are weak, and you can see as they get more aggressive, they're showing more of their weakness.
Yeah, very much the same thing with Call of Duty guys always yelling louder and louder when they're losing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Bunch of baby fake gamers.
Maybe a racial slur there, too.
Heated gamer moments.
Not the good ones.
Pegasus, living rent-free in Yami's head, is loving all of this. The squad remarks that Mai is taunting Yami pretty hard, but Taya thinks that Mai is doing it on purpose to get Yami to focus up. Mai's turn, she plays Harpy's Feather Duster, which destroys Yami's Spellbinding Circle, but does not attack. On Yami's turn, he switches Summon Skull to defense mode, and sets another monster in defense mode as well. On Mai's turn, she'll play Rose Whip, putting on Harpy Lady, buffing it even stronger, and attacks the set monster, which was Feral Imp. Yami will play another card in defense mode. Mai will play Harpy's Pet Dragon now, which has a weird, CGI smoke effect around its mouth sometimes, and it looks a little weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of figure out what that is. I wonder if it's just some sort of trying to have a digital edit over a cell animation or something like that. But I actually, after these 2 episodes particularly, I kind of want to look more into who the animation directors were and how the process of these anime, at least this anime, was kind of done. I don't know if I can find anything, but maybe one day we'll do that.
Yeah, it's just sort of a weird thing they threw in there, which I don't think they've ever done that before with other smoke effects.
No, I think they were trying to do something there.
Yeah, maybe trying to cut corners or get used to doing something new with CGI in the cells.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's kind of beyond me, but maybe one day we'll find out.
Yeah, we're not animators though, so we don't know. That's for the future. The pet dragon will destroy the summoned skull, and at this point, Mai's a little fed up with how much garbage Yami is playing this match, and asks him the same question she was asked by Joey: what can be seen remains unseen. Joey in the stands decides to get involved and asks Mai if she found the answer to that question that he'd asked her, and Mai says she has. Joey decides to say that the answer is friendship, and Mai calls him an idiot. Mai thinks to herself that she learned the answer from Joey, but that Yami is not able to answer the question. Yami thinks that Mai is just trying to trip him up, and is still not with his head in the game, thinking about Pegasus. He then draws the Dark Magician, sets a card in his back row, and plays Dark Magician in defense mode. Here's when Mai plays Shadow of Eyes as an equip card, or rather a continuous magic card. They're really iffy on how they do it. Anyway, Shadow of Eyes does not have the effects that it's going for here.
No.
But here, in this situation, it puts the Dark Magician into attack mode and forces it to attack. In the real world, Shadow of Eyes is a trap card that makes your opponent change a monster they set in defense mode to attack mode. Does it once. Shadow of Eyes is going to persist throughout the rest of the duel.
So she has 2 bullshit cards. Just 2.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's my bad. I was blindsided by the beauty of a wonderful woman, and I was willing to overlook her faults. Am I the bad guy for that? Is that a crime? I don't see any police around here.
I mean, so now how many bullshit cards does Yugi have? Several.
At least 4.
Okay, we'll keep counting on that one.
I already did. Dark Magician is forced to attack, and the Mirror Wall will once again have its stats. Mai will then play a second Harpy's Feather Duster, which is a minor bullshit. I don't know if it was banned at that point in history, but I'm going to say it's fine. Clearing Yami's new back row, and the Harpy's Pet Dragon will attack and destroy the Dark Magician. The episode ends with Yami at 300 life points, and Mai still at 2,000.
Woo!
And saying that out loud, I do acknowledge now that if Mai had attacked the Summon Skull before, she would have just won right there.
And that's why she didn't do it.
I don't think that's why she didn't do it.
So, I think there's actually some sort of rule that they had at that point where it's I think you can either do something or it's you kind of either pick or choose. If you can either attack or do something at this point in the meta. But I think when I say meta, I mean anime meta, not actual Yu-Gi-Oh meta. So I think there were a lot of kind of misplays. There's a few different things that kind of happen in even the Joey and Bandit Keith duel that I kind of want to get into. It's these 2 duels in particular are a little bit of a mess as far as how things should work, I feel like.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot of that's not the rules of the game. And you can definitely tell who it favors based on the way these episodes go.
Funny enough, there's kind of more that ends up in, it should be in Joey's favor in, I feel like, in Bandit Keith episodes, but I don't know. I guess the story dramatics always have to take kind of a first hand over the actual card game mechanics, especially in this early time of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you want to have a compelling story, but you also want to make sure you're having like a fair, fun card game kind of atmosphere.
While also making sure that the protagonist wins.
Yeah, well, gotta win, right? Happily ever after.
I think Mai could have beaten Pegasus.
She almost... I don't want to go too far into spoilers. So let's move on to episode 30.
This episode begins with Yami quaking in his leather shoes. All the onlookers are impressed by Mai, as all who see her should be. Joey questions if it was luck that enabled him to beat her before, and yes, it was Time Wizard. It was literally luck. That's how you've won almost all of your duels, Joseph.
At least all the duels till up till this point.
Yeah. Mai says that it wasn't luck that enabled Joey to beat her, rather it was the limit of her skill at the time. Losing to Joey made Mai face her true self, and that's how she found the answer to Joey's question. The desire to overcome your own weakness is what Mai learned, and is her answer. She calls it the courage of a duelist, but Yami is not challenged whenever he wins, and so he doesn't have true courage, because he isn't prepared to lose and suffer from that. It's literally like the kid who like always gets like the 100 on their tests, but then gets like a 97 one time and freaks out about it, because it's not perfect.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, especially for Yami. I mean, up until Kaiba beating Yugi and kind of the Pegasus VHS tape, but that, that's one thing or another. Yugi doesn't really lose.
Yeah, that was due to time.
Yeah, like Yugi doesn't really lose very often. And like and even in that Pegasus duel, he would have won if the time didn't run out.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, he was going to win that Kaiba duel if Kaiba didn't have a hissy fit and want to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill myself if you don't let me win this duel. Obviously, I know it's for Mokuba, but...
Yeah, but very much does... Like, Yami is a sore loser.
Yeah, at this point in time, yes, he is.
And so, very much Mai saying that he doesn't have, like, the spine to pick himself up after a loss the same way someone like Joey or she did, because he doesn't have anything to overcome. He's never struggled.
Yeah. Well, now he's about to be struggling real hard.
Oh, yeah. Yami flashbacks to his almost murder on the roof, and when he lost the duel, the person who actually suffered for it was little Yugi. He was the one who was heartbroken because... Not because he lost, but because what winning would have cost him in a murder charge. Yami didn't want to acknowledge the strength that Yugi showed in stopping him in favor of his own pride.
Crazy.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really good. The way they display this in the show and the tone of it is all very solid.
Yeah, and this is where it's kind of really a shame that it's not this in the dub, because I think... See, this is where, you think about the dub and what we grew up on, and these little things are taken out and replaced with maybe more dumbed down or like different creative choices, maybe some sort of translation differences. But I think it really, at these crucial moments, can hinder the show, at least for an American audience, because all it is literally just some sort of inner turmoil. It's not really the same in the sense of like, they're not having some sort of like true duelist conflict about like dealing with each other and kind of working together to have that true duel spirit. It's just literally, I gotta do this so my other self doesn't play, and I'm not gonna work as hard, so my non-confident self's gonna show up and not like fuck up the duel. Where it's, Yami is his own character, and this kind of really highlights who Yami, like, it's a good highlight moment for both Yami and Yugi and their relationship. I don't think they do it as well in the dub.
I think a better way they could have shown it was by actually having Yami and Yugi interact with each other, as opposed to us each getting individual perspectives about them reflecting on the other as we have been.
Yeah, it gets a little muddled, and you kind of, and this is where kind of my discussion with, okay, who's running the ship and when is the other involved, because it isn't really shown clearly in the dub. So I think you get a little confused about that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and when they hire us to direct the reboot, we'll make sure they do it better. Anyway, after having this moment of internal struggle being overcome, Yami remarks that he's glad he met Mai and that the real duel begins now, which means here comes the bullshit parade.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yami draws brain control and uses it to take control of Harpy's pet dragon. He ignores the part of brain control where you have to pay 800 life points to activate it, which would have made him lose. Yami then sets a card in the back row and plays Catapult Turtle, using it to tribute Harpy's pet dragon and destroy Mirror Wall. Bullshit number 2. Not how that works.
Just straight up, just fucking yeets this motherfucker into the mirror wall. I'm like, aw. It's just like.
Catapult Turtle does, however, because it tributed a monster, deal half of that monster's attack points as damage to Mai, which is more than half of what she has. So now they're much more even in life points. On Mai's turn, she plays Elegant Egotist to bring out the Harpy Lady Sisters and does not attack, because you cannot attack when you use Elegant Egotist. Yami reveals... Wait, I think it's either you can't attack when you use Elegant Egotist or you can't attack when you use Triangle Ecstasy Spark. Anyway, point is she does not attack because she was worried about the back row card that Yugi had.
But she can't attack because she was going to attack with just her regular Harpy Lady, but she doesn't. She gets bluffed out of that, and then she plays Elegant Egotist instead to buff her side up so she can at least, she can make more than one move and still kind of help herself. But she would have won.
Yeah, build up to get him on the run back. You got it right. Yami then reveals that his set card was a bluff, and it was Monster Recovery, and that if Mai attacked, she would have won. Here's the second time she was robbed of victory. I'm going to say this is we'll call it 1.5, because this was a bluff play, so those are allowed. Yami then plays the Recovery to put Catapult Turtle back into his hand, shuffle his hand in the deck, and then draw 5 new cards. Bullshit number 3. Monster Recovery only gives you as many cards back as you shuffled in. You should have only had 3 cards, not 5. Which is almost how the card works, but I'm going to call it a full bullshit because I have a favorite. The new hand is not strong enough to defeat the Harpy Ladies, and so, here comes another bullshit. Yami plays Mystical Elf in defense mode, and then they start wondering why the monster was not changed to attack mode because Shadow of Eyes is still in effect. Alright.
I was waiting for this one.
Yami says that Shadow of Eyes only... There's a line from Taya about not letting Mai's card seduce him that is thrown out, which is what gives Yami the idea to play Mystical Elf.
Yeah, it's...
And so when he plays Mystical Elf, he says it's not changed to attack mode because Mystical Elf is a woman, and Shadow of Eyes only works on men, and damned heteronormativity is robbing Mai of a win.
The 90s.
The elf can be gay, we don't know.
Why can't any of these monsters...
I've seen Lord of the Rings, they had gay elves in that one, at least one.
I don't it doesn't make any sense. It is probably one of the biggest bullshits in this duel. It's just like,
I think the Yu-Gi-Oh card game hates women. I think Yu-Gi-Oh hates women.
I don't know. Probably not.
God damn.
It's just
stupid.
Damn heteronormative. This was the 90s though, so I mean, I guess not that it's okay, but you do end up saying like, okay, they're idiots back then. We're all idiots
they were
until later.
Less willing to acknowledge gay people existed in the 90s.
Not good, but it was the
Not
heteronormativity of it all.
Don't worry, when we fix it, when we're directing, we'll make that elf gay. Don't you worry, people.
We'll have to figure out some sort of other bullshit way for you to get out of that one.
Yeah, maybe someone actually knows how to play the game right the episode. Anyway. Mai's turn, and she plays Monster Reborn, bringing back her Harpy's pet dragon that was blown up by the turtle, and she will attack the mystical elf and end her turn. On Yummy's turn, he gets a lucky draw off the top, which is Swords of Revealing Light, giving him even more plot armor. Not a bullshit, it's just plot armor.
It's Heart of the Cards, and you know it.
Yeah, it is. But remember, women don't have the heart of the cards.
Taya seemed to have the Heart of the Cards in the last episode.
She was given the win.
She was given the win, but she did seem to have the Heart of the Cards.
Yeah, she was given the heart of the cards, just not in a way that would make her win.
Yeah, because she's not as good as Mai.
Yeah, no one is. Yami then plays Kuribro and declares that Kuribo is an important part of his victory.
I mean, it's true. The fur god himself will... Here's the thing. I think this is why Mai loses. This is my headcanon of why Mai loses. It's because she doubted Kuribro.
I'm going to bring this up later, but him making Kuribo a part of his winning victory and how he uses it, I think opens up a window for a very funny card to be made in the future. But I'll bring that up in a bit.
Okay.
Mai passes her turn without doing anything because Swords of Revealing Light is in effect. Yami then plays his own Monster Reborn to bring Gaia back to the field. Mai passes her turn again. Yami also passes. High octane dueling here, folks. Mai passes for the third time, and the Swords of Revealing Light are no longer in play. Yami then draws for turn, and they do a heartbeat sound effect to show it being real intense. We get an overlay of little Yugi helping him draw the card and all his friends being at his side. And Yami reflects that he is no longer needs to be afraid of losing, because even if he loses, his friends will still be with him. Which I don't think that was really the issue, but that's what he says.
I mean, it kind of... it is kind of the issue because Yami was, unfocused because of the loss. And, he wanted to face Pegasus because he wants to just kind of get this over with and win. So, there is that fear of losing. And he's kind of off kilt with the Mai kind of putting him on the back foot really early. So I think this is kind of the, going with the themes of friendship in card games. This kind of is that kind of, it is his dual spirit, is the friendship. And that kind of confidence that he has people, he won't be alone even if he does lose.
Yeah, it didn't feel to me like the issue was your friends won't like you anymore if you suck at dueling. I mean, that's where I find my issue.
We can kind of talk about this because this kind of goes into the Bandit Keith stuff that we'll kind of go into later.
As he draws the cards, Pegasus is looking on and remarks that Yami is unbelievable. And it's revealed that Yami has drawn the card Blackluster Ritual. He then plays it, tributing Gaia and Kuribo to summon Blackluster Soldier. This is a bullshit. He only had the ritual, not the monster in hand. Some rituals let you summon them from the deck. This one does not.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that's kind of interesting is it's a little bit more bullshit in the manga because I don't think they knew how ritual cards were going to work at that time. Yugi actually sacrifices, was it Griffer? Is that how you say it? Griffer?
The little, red chunky dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 1200 attack, 1500 defense.
Yeah, I know the one.
And then Kuribo, and they sacrifice to make Gaia the Fierce Knight the Blackluster Soldier. So they kind of do what they do, in the anime, they have Gaia transforming into Blackluster Soldier, but in the manga, it's because Yugi sacrificed those two monsters for Gaia.
Yeah, they definitely didn't know what they were doing with rituals in the manga. I do want to bring up a quick little reference here thing. In the GameCube game, Yu-Gi-Oh! The False-Bound Kingdom, you can use the Blackluster Ritual item on Gaia the Fierce Knight to permanently turn it into the Blackluster Soldier. And he is super strong in that.
That's kind of cool. I've never played that
I always
game.
liked using him. It's a lot of fun for me. I don't think it's a good game.
That's good.
Yeah. Just spam the Konami code and get to hear the voice actors yell, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
Also infinite money.
Ooh.
Up, down, left, right, BA, select!
Ooh.
Yeah, just put that in whenever you're playing a game that Konami made.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Blackluster Soldier looks fucking rad.
Yeah. It was one of my favorites as a kid, for sure.
Yeah,
it's got
blue armor with yellow accents, or I guess supposed to be gold accents. He looks sick.
Yeah. It's got a ponytail, a sword, a shield. Destroys a dragon.
Yeah. And he's got blue eyes, white dragon stat line, so he's really good. He then attacks the Harpy's pet dragon, and Mai laments not having any cards that can beat the Blackluster Soldier, because none of them have more power than it, and that she had a Harpy in her hand that she could have played to buff up the pet dragon, but was saving it for later. And so, not wanting to see any more of her Harpies destroyed, Mai puts her hand on her deck and surrenders.
I think it's not that she was going to choose I think she couldn't play it because of Swords Revealing Light. Like, she was like, well, there's no need for me to play it now. Probably should have, but, I guess that's the third time. So I guess 3 strikes, you're out, Mai.
Yeah, if she had played it, then it still... Soldier could have attacked a Harpy, and then Pet Dragon would have been too weak to destroy it anyway, so same results, different math.
Should have believed in Kuribros. Sorry.
Yeah.
She mocked him. Can't mock
the thing
our
I think would be very funny is if they made a Blackluster Soldier that instead of it being Gaia in the armor, it was a Kuribros.
He's got a sword. It'd be
Yeah, a little Blackluster Kuribros.
Actually, kind of
It'd be adorable.
Kind of want to draw that.
Oh, you should. The fans will love it. They'll go bonkers.
I'm going to do it.
Yami thanks Mai for the duel and teaching him what can be seen but remains unseen. Mai says that there is no such thing as a flawless duelist, and we all have weaknesses in our hearts that we choose to look away from. She goes on to say that there are 2 types of defeat, those that end everything and those that lead to victory, and that this defeat will make her stronger. And I think Mai is the best character in the show.
It's crazy because, like, they don't do this kind of... They kind of do something along these lines in the dub, but it's not really, like, as deep. Again, I get that I think they were more aiming for this to be a kid's show, so I think they wanted to dumb down. But I feel you have to really think about, and it's too late to kind of really criticize this. It's not like they're going to change anything. It's a done anime, but I feel like for longevity's sake, you could have done this a little better. I think this is one of the reasons why, as we've been going through this, I really hope that someday they do kind of reanimate, like reboot, kind of like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood kind of thing, and kind of make this anime, update the animation and all that stuff, and maybe kind of go more closely towards the story as it was, and not for kids it.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist.
So, about that point is where the episode does just fade away from Mai leaving the dueling arena. And I'm going to cap off my coverage of this by saying Yami needed 5 bullshits to win. Brain control had no cost to activate, Catapult Turtle destroyed the mirror wall, Monster Recovery drew more cards than it should have, Mystical Elf is heteronormative, and Blackluster Soldier summoned itself from the deck. Justice for Mai!
Mai should have won.
She should have!
I mean, sure. I don't disagree with you. There's some bullshit in there, but Yugi's bullshit his way through this entire tournament, if we're going to be honest with you. So it's hard to kind of not expect it at this point.
I know I should really just be used to it, but I don't know. I guess also part of it is because when I was younger watching this, I didn't really care about Mai as a character because she wasn't the protagonist. And so seeing how good she is as a character now, it's like, we was robbed.
We was robbed. I actually noticed that, because we were talking about the animation, I actually noticed in this episode the animation quality got noticeably better. It's a lot more of, I think they were bringing their A-team on for this episode, which I guess because the Blackluster Soldier reveal, they really wanted to try and push that card. So that was kind of neat to watch. And I also, because we talk about bullshit, I do like that you acknowledge that Yugi's it seemed like Yugi had a good poker face to make Mai fall for his bluff. I thought that was kind of interesting, and I thought it's an interesting way to kind of show different tactics of a card game that isn't just cards. You also have to watch your opponent and how they act. I don't know. Thought that was kind of interesting to include.
Yeah, there is a lot that we'll see where there are some jobbers that Yugi and Yami will duel in the future where we do get to see him just be hyper confident against them and know they stand no chance. And so it's nice to see him using that confidence for a little bit of a trickstery way and sort of being like, but you don't know what I have in my set card there, do you? Do you really want to attack?
Yeah, it's why he's as good at games as he is. He throughout the series, he kind of proves to be a game master. Even before the Duel Monsters, when we go into the Season 0 stuff, it's like he is, the king of his domain kind of thing, or the master of his domains.
Yeah, very much in Season 0, it was a lot of him using his confidence to psych out whoever had challenged him to whatever game.
Which is what the kind of Yami's story narrative purpose is for. He is that confident side of Yugi that Yugi wants to be. It's just they use it narratively as like an alternate ego and, has a much bigger purpose.
Yu-Gi-Oh's really good.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself is really good. I think 4Kids kind of ruined it. Not ruined it. Well, maybe a little bit, but I think 4Kids ruined the longevity of it for American audiences.
They dumbed it down too much.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's why you go into you look at Pokemon or One Piece and their 4Kids dub, and you can already point out the silly things that they do with the dub. And it's just a shame, really. But I guess I can understand why it was a different time back then, and I don't think they had the same confidence in anime as they do nowadays.
Yeah, it wasn't the titan of media that it's become.
Anime is really as like a media in Western countries has come a real long way since like its inception in the early, I think Astro Boy and the Tezuka stuff was like in the 50s, 60s. And they don't really, it was hard to get proper translations of all that stuff, I think, for a long time. And proper dubs.
Yep.
Something like that. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do a history of anime episode.
That'd be neat.
That'd be cool.
So, on the topic of 4Kids getting their hands up and changing things, you want to talk about these next episodes?
Oh boy. So this shit's kind of bonkers. So I'm going to be covering the Joey and Bandit Keith duel, which is the second and final duel of these contestant finals. They cover chapters 60 to 62, and it starts as such. With the first match over, Joey is itching to get his match underway. Bandit Keith is actually very lax about the upcoming match. I sure do wonder why. The proctor asks for the contestants' entry cards, which Bandit Keith proudly presents his card, but Joey is fumbling and stumbling and having trouble finding his card on his person. And it's kind of like, oh, I don't know, it could be my room. I must have left it there. And the proctor gives Joey about 5 minutes to go to his room and find the card, which is insane because Taya does comments like, how is he supposed to get to his room back in 5 minutes when it takes more time to do even make that trip? But Joey somehow does it, rushes in his room, and actually in the manga passes by Tristan Bakura, who are not with the gang in the manga, and you see Tristan holding, Mokuba's lifeless corpse. He's like, oh, is that Joey? Like that's weird. When as like I said, Tristan's holding Mokuba's lifeless corpse.
So they do the spoilers for what we'll get to eventually, but this is when they do the getting Mokuba's body out of the prison.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, Tristan doesn't really matter, so they just need to have him doing something. So we're just gonna keep having him off the screen.
You really only need one cheerleader, and Taya's got that covered for everyone.
Yeah, Taya literally is the only person present in the manga as a spectator, other than Pegasus.
Is Yugi not there?
Well, I guess Yugi's there, true, but it's switch. But
is he cheering for Bandit Keith to keep it even?
Come on, I don't want to have to face Joey yet.
He's got Time Wizard. It's too strong.
I'm scared. Anyway, Joey returns outside the arena room with a minute left, empty-handed. He's lost all hope. All his dreams, all his hard work are about to come crumbling down because of one missing card. He's hunched over on the floor when suddenly the hero we all need appears. My Valentine approaches Joey with a handkerchief and a pep talk.
An angel, if ever there was. An angel in purple pleather.
You know, she actually isn't wearing her purple leather jacket when she duels Yugi in the manga. She's just, whatever you call her top.
Corset,
Yeah, it's just that.
corset, bodice, what have you.
Well, either way, Joey unwraps the handkerchief to find Mai's entry card, and he makes a note that the handkerchief is actually wet already. Because, you probably have to assume Mai was crying because she lost the duel. Real sad.
Oh. Well, now I'm crying.
I can see it. If you don't really get what's happening here, Mai is giving Joey her entry card since she was, unfortunately, eliminated.
Unfairly.
Okay, true. Joey thanks Mai and bursts into the room right in the nick of time and presents his qualification card. Bandit Keith is both shocked and confused, but doesn't waver because surely in his mind, he's still dueling a novice. He's in the bag.
I do want to add that while Bandit Keith was waiting for Joey to go get his card, which he knew he didn't have, Keith was just hanging out on a couch.
Yeah, that's not what happens in the manga, but I do like that kind of addition because I remember Croquet saying, at least in the dub version, if you don't get to the duel arena in the next 5 minutes, you're going to get disqualified too. He's like, ah, shit.
Ah, shit. Ah, fuck. Ah, shit. Ah, fuck.
Anyway, the match is underway as Keith makes his opening move. He places Pendulum Machine in defense mode. Joey responds in kind with his own monster in defense mode, which has Keith flipping his defense monster to attack mode and attacking Joey's monster. But this was Joey baiting out Keith's monster so he can kind of see how to counterattack, which was a good move on Joey's part, really. He plays Guiltia the Knight to take out Pendulum Machine, but unfortunately, the attack doesn't work. Here's some bullshit. It is then that Joey learns magic attacks do not work on machine-type monsters, because the attributes still matter, even though... No. Keith's turn comes around and he plays Launcher Spider to take out Guiltia, bringing Joey's life points down to 1650. Joey seems to be in a bind, so he plays a defense monster to face down card. In the anime, Keith does this thing where he baits Joey by fake dropping one of his cards and feel like, whoops, and I guess the hologram acknowledged it, so Joey could kind of see it was Zoa. But in the manga, Keith just plays Zoa in attack mode. Joey gets cocky and falls for the trap. He plays Flame Swordsman and equips Salamandra to boost Flame Swordsman attack. Joey then attacks and Keith reveals the trap card Metal Morph to turn Zoa into Metal Zoa with 3000 attack. Pretty sure that's not how that card works, but, not a lot of cards work how they work in this show. Flame Swordsman is destroyed and Joey goes down to 1150 life points. Keith then plays Stop Defense to bring Joey's defense card Axe Rider into attack mode. And Metal Zoa goes in for the attack and then suddenly disappears. Where'd he go? Turns out Joey got the drop on Keith with the Chasm of Spikes trap card. Keith loses a quarter of Metal Zoa's attack points worth of life points. He is now at 1250. Joey makes his move and plays a face down, joking with Keith that it's a trap, so don't attack. Kind of just like, I'm going to play a card face down. But just so you know, it's a trap card, so I wouldn't attack if I was you, which kind of, really aggravates Bandit Keith. Axe Rider gets put back into defense, and Joey summons Garuzis, then attacks Pendulum Machine. Keith gets even more frustrated at this and has Launcher Spider take out Garuzis. Turns out the card Joey played was Kunai with Chain, baby, so he fell for the classic blunder. So Launcher Spider gets destroyed, and now Joey has a 50 life point lead. Joey is showing his stuff to the expert of duel monsters, but Keith is not ready to back down as we end the episode. Moving on, we are now going on to episode 32, which covers mostly chapters 62 to 64, but also, in a way, kind of 65, but we'll kind of get into it as we get into it. We return to the duel, and we kind of actually catch some inner monologuing from Pegasus as the episode starts. He's kind of really curious of how Joey is handling an advanced duelist like Bandit Keith as well as he is. Pegasus decides to look into their mind's eye and sees that Keith became really depressed from his loss to Pegasus. Kind of what I want to talk about with Yugi not failing, because he has friends around him that are going to lift him up and make sure that he'll be okay at the end. But who does Bandit Keith really have?
His old buddy Jack Daniels.
That's where we're heading with this, because he kind of really uses everyone we see in the show. He uses those 3 cronies he has and kind of throws them away like they're trash, literally, because he beats them up and throws them out. And he doesn't really have anyone. And we notice as we look through his mind eye, he was, boozing and doing drugs, but 4Kids won't let you know that. And they also won't let you know that he went to like an underground dueling gambling circuit where I guess Russian roulette was involved. I don't know if they really go into this in the sub or like have those kinds of like scenes, but
they said he did underground dueling. They did not say Russian roulette was involved.
Well, there's like, I don't know if it's Russian roulette, but there's like panels of him holding a gun to his head. So I have to imagine there's something involved with that in the underground gambling circuit. So I don't know. It's weird. Don't know how it works with a children's card game, but, it ain't my way.
I think Keith would be super interesting if he was in Season 0. Like, going out of his way to challenge Yami to the death games. Because, like, he gets a sick thrill out of it now.
Yeah, that would be kind of interesting if they kind of did something like that. But it's, Keith's motives are looking for revenge after the despair he has felt from Pegasus. But when you look into Joey's mind, Joey shows like his friends, his sister, and like the hope and trust they bring in him, kind of going back to the Yugi thing. It's truly a battle between light and darkness. Keith laughs and in the manga asks Joey if he's seen hell. Keith has, and he needs to beat Pegasus to get out. I guess this is kind of going with the depression, the despair, everything else, and he's really, physically and mentally abusing himself in different ways. But Joey's not really scared of Keith's intimidation. It's Keith's turn, and he plays 1 card face down and then Barrel Dragon, which looks oddly edited in the dub. Looks very kind of futuristic, like those aren't really barrels, but more lasers. Turns out the real monster actually is a fusion between a revolver pistol and a dragon, because it's literally just a revolver gun for a head.
Yeah, it's a lot of Who Framed Roger Rabbit toon gun.
Yeah, it's funny. The dragon can attack up to 3 times, and in its first attack, it is able to attack twice. It's like a roulette thing, and if, whatever. And it's able to actually attack twice and clear Joey's field of the Garuzis and the Axe Raider.
I want to point out, not how that card works.
How does it work, actually? I was kind of curious about that.
Once per turn, you can flip a coin 3 times. If 2 out of those 3 times are heads, you can destroy 1 monster on your opponent's field, I believe.
So I guess, in a way, it was right, but also wrong, because if it did work that way, he still would have destroyed 2 monsters, but whatever. Is what it is.
Yeah, so it got the end result, just a weird way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the story for you. Joey's down to 850 life points, but he responds with his trusty Time Wizard monster card. He then plays Baby Dragon to try his 1,000 Dragon combo move, the signature one at this point. The time
one
roulette
that never fails?
The time roulette spins in Joey's favor, which ages Baby Dragon to 1,000 Dragon, and Barrel Dragon is rusted to hell, which 1,000 Dragon finishes off. Keith reveals his trap card, Time Machine, to bring back Barrel Dragon to how it was a turn before. Barrel Dragon destroys 1,000 Dragon, bringing Joey's life points down to 650. The combo has been beaten, which is trouble for Joey, because what else he got? Joey plays a defense monster, which is destroyed by Barrel Dragon, and then Keith plays the monster Slot Machine. Joey then plays a face-down card in the back row, and then plays his signature Red Eyes Black Dragon in attack mode. Keith gets ready to attack when Joey reveals the copycat whatever card.
The copycat fix the problem card?
Yeah, exactly. The plot armor card. And gets Keith's Metal Morph trap card. Red Eyes Black Dragon turns into Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon! And destroys Barrel Dragon. Slot Machine gets put in defense mode, and Keith plays a card in the back row. Joey gets a little cocky, plays a face down, attacks with Black Barrel Dragon, and then Keith reveals his face down to be the 7 completed magic card, which raises Slot Machine's defense points. Joey then loses 200 more life points because Slot Machine's defense points were higher than Black Metal Dragon's attack points. That's how that works. Play the game if you don't know. Keith boasts that he has 2 more in his deck to take out Joey, which Joey, kind of scoffs at because what are the odds he gets both in a, 40 to 50 card deck? But Keith has some tricks up his sleeve, or should I say armbands. Keith pulls out the second completed magic card from his armbands while drawing for his next turn. Like he kind of draws the card and then he's like, zoop. I don't know why I made a visual gag when we're on a podcast, but
no, I loved it.
he draws the card and then as he's like kind of putting it in his hand, he slips the other card out of his armband. But Pegasus notices right away, but lets the match continue, it seems. Keith then plays that 7 completed card to power up his Slot Machine, following up with a monster called Blast Sphere to blow up the Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon. Blast Sphere explodes, but Black Metal Dragon is still on the field and with an increased attack strength. Joey at the last minute equips the Dragon Nails magic card to Black Metal Dragon so it can be stronger than Blast Sphere, so it can, I guess take the hit. I guess it's Keith's turn again, but I feel like it actually should be Joey's turn because that whole Blast Sphere stuff happened on Keith's turn. But either way, Keith draws and pulls the armband stun again to power up Slot Machine to equal the attack strength of the Black Metal Dragon. Joey's trying to figure out what to do and puts a face down card down. Keith then plays the Pillager card, which I don't know if it's trap, magic, I don't know. To steal 1 card from Joey's hand, which Keith takes the Shield and Sword magic card. Ironically, the card that Joey beat one of Keith's cronies with. So Keith plays the card, and the attack and defense points of the monsters on the field are switched. Interesting manga note. Keith actually calls Joey by his English name in the manga instead of Jonucci, or how I guess that's how you pronounce it, Jonucci, in one of the panels in this part of the story. I don't really know if he says it any other time. I'm going to have to look back and check that, but I did notice he called him Joey, which was really interesting. Anyway, right as Keith launches his attack, Joey reveals the Grave Robber trap card to get the Time Machine trap card back and revive Black Metal Dragon how it was a turn ago. Black Metal has 3,400 attack buff and takes out Slot Machine to bring Keith's life points down to 0. Joey wins, Keith loses, Tristan almost falls to his death in the anime. Why is there a bottomless pit in this duel arena? Why didn't Tristan fall off in it? Either way, Bandit Keith has a hissy fit, saying the duel doesn't count. Keith then accuses Joey of having someone else's entry card, and Joey admits to it, but wonders how Keith would have known about that. Keith is kind of like angry and speechless when Pegasus interjects, explaining that's why Keith was so sure he would win the match because Joey should have never found his card. Then points out the improper conduct Keith exhibited with the armband sheet. Pegasus ordered Keith to be taken away, and the guards then drag Bandit Keith out of the arena. As Joey is being congratulated by Pegasus, Keith somehow gets out of the guard's clutches. I'm assuming in the sub there's a scene of him either shoving or harming the guards before he enters back into the arena.
In the sub, we see him taken away, and then we hear the sounds of fighting, and that's when everyone looks back to where he was taken away and sees him running forward. So we actually don't see the violence.
Okay, so I was wondering if or not, because then we get to the real shit. So Keith somehow gets out of the guard's clutches and launches towards the balcony Pegasus was watching the matches from. He's very angrily pointing at Pegasus in the dub. Just very angrily going, nah. As Bandit Keith points and threatens to poke Pegasus, our silver-haired antagonist springs a trapdoor on Keith, and the Banana Man himself slides out of the castle into the ocean.
We can add Bandit Keith to the list of things we have lost to the sea.
We can! Oh my god! I didn't even think about that.
Update the board, people at home. Put them on your bingo cards.
That's right. This is what the anime decides to do with Keith, but the manga, I don't think is very as forgiving, I think, because I think Keith makes that out alive at that point, and I can't really say the same in the manga, because in the manga, Bandit Keith actually blocks Pegasus as Pegasus is walking towards the duel arena and tries to stick up Pegasus for the prize money. Pegasus then acknowledges and disapproves the conduct that Bandit Keith displayed in the duel and decides to punish Keith with a penalty game. So we're bringing that back. A revolver is molded out of Keith's own hand, which then I guess the shadows point at Keith and seemingly shoot him. We then see Keith's body lying as Pegasus continues on his way.
That's not a game at all. That's just a dead man.
Maybe the game was Russian roulette and he lost.
I think we could have at least said that.
Nah. I'm not really sure if this is how Bandit Keith dies in the manga, but we'll see, because I know later on we do see him in the anime, but I can't remember if that is anime only in itself. So we'll kind of get there when we get there. We'll get to it. Either way, another duel match is about to begin, and depending on how you're taking in the story, there could be actually a different opponent for Yugi, because the events at this point are going to kind of diverge from the anime and the manga for just a moment, a couple episodes.
Yeah.
So that's really it. That is the duel. A lot of it is pretty standard. Not a lot of different things as far as like how the plays are done and how the duel goes between the manga and the anime. And they still kind of keep the same themes, which is interesting.
I equate the Bandit Keith and Joey duel to Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
How so?
Because they're just fucking with each other the whole time.
Kind of. They're kind of, well...
Like, well, I've got this thing. Oh, well, I painted a hole in this wall. And it's like, oh, well, I ripped the hole you painted off the wall and put it on the floor and you fell down into it.
It's an interesting duel. It's nice to see every time Joey is actually learning and growing from his duels. And even in the anime, they don't seem to kind of make him seem as the kind of bumbling novice as they were at the beginning. You really do get to see that growth with him. So that was really cool, and kind of seeing him take on a advanced duelist, as he's titled even a card professor in the manga as Bandit Keith. Even if Bandit Keith is kind of like a shell of the former man he used to be, it is nice to see Joey being able to take this guy on and actually stand on pretty even ground with him, if not a little higher.
I think this is also the first match that Joey won, like, actually completely without, like, support or advice from someone else.
I think actually the first duel with in the graveyard, the zombie one, I think that was actually, but I'm sure I think it's a little different in the anime and the manga, because I'm pretty sure in the manga he gets no help and does it all on his own. But I think something happens, or like Yugi gives him some sort of encouragement at the last minute to help him. So it kind of undercuts the growth that Joey has. But so if we're actually thinking about it in that way, in the anime, yes, this is probably the one time he does not get any help, which is awesome. Or the first time, at least.
The Brooklyn Brawler is all grown up, dueling on his own.
Something that confused me, maybe you can give me a little insight on this, since you're the TCG guy. Time machine.
Yeah.
Bullshit, right?
No. well,
but like
the way that they used it completely, yes, but the effect on paper, time machine is when a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, summon it back to the same field it was on in the same position before it was destroyed. So it doesn't do exactly what they said, where it brings a monster back the way it was a turn before, but time machine does bring it back.
But it doesn't. So the monsters had to get destroyed, so the life points should have subtracted still, right?
Yes, time machine not affecting the life points or undoing that is a bullshit.
Yeah, that.
And also the cards that like kept all their equipments and came back with that is also a bullshit.
Okay. It just seemed a little hokey to me.
Also, I'm gonna bring up something else. TCG, Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon and Metal Zoa, monsters that you summon by tributing their first forms that have Metalmorph equipped to them, are all so much worse than just leaving Metalmorph equipped to a monster. Because Metalmorph is so good in this meta. Metalmorph is when your monster equipped with it attacks an opponent's monster, gain attack points equal to half of what you're attacking.
Oh my god. This is the point with like I bring up with like cards are not used the way they're supposed to be used in the game, and I guess I can get that in the sense of a card game in real life is different from a card game that you're trying to kind of tell a story through. But I can understand where frustrations happen when you are a pretty hardcore TCG player for the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. So I get it, but I also get why I get it on the other side too, why they're doing it the way they are. Just I think they get better at doing it in a way where there are narratively cards they can play that aren't just like playing bullshit cards.
Yeah, and there's other problems like Grave Robbery. You have to pay life points to use the card it takes. The card Keith played, the Pillager or the Bandit in the sub, is not a real card, never has been.
Yeah, they don't even call it like a card in, like, it doesn't have like a spell, trap, or monster card thing in the manga. Like, they show the card and they show the effect, but they don't say what it is. So it's really funny.
You know what? I think Keith made that card at home.
And Pegasus allowed him to play that. That's why he killed him.
Yeah, Pegasus has no problem with cheating. Just don't get caught by someone else.
Idiot. Oh, well. Well, these were the final duels with the contestants. Gets a little different now as we're going to go into our next episode, which we are going to cover Yugi versus Joey, which is anime only. They don't do the duel in the manga. And we'll kind of go, I'll obviously touch on that next episode. And then we actually will go into the beginning of Yugi and Pegasus's final battle, I think, right?
That's what the plan is.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that one's a 4.5-parter, I think. So we're gonna space that one out a bit.
Yeah, let's give y'all some breathing room, and also let's enjoy a duel of friendship in the next episode. But before we kind of go in there, do you have any kind of final thoughts on this episode and like the duels that we kind of saw?
I think these episodes were definitely very different in tone. I think the Mai versus Yugi match is phenomenal and some of the best that the show has shown us so far in terms of getting us characterizations while also carrying on a competent enough duel in the background, bullshit notwithstanding. And I enjoyed the Bandit Keith versus Joey match because these are both characters I enjoyed watching. Joey's always been one of my favorites. I have all the cards and had the cards Bandit Keith used back when I was playing when I was smaller than I am now. And so it was always fun to me whenever that episode would come on to see him be like, I know that guy, that slot machine, I have him.
I remember your brother, I think, had Zoa.
My brother has Zoa, I have Metal Zoa.
There you go.
And he kept the Metal Morph because we split those cards because they were promo cards for one of the games, which I think was Falsebound Kingdom, actually, but I'm not 100% on that.
I do remember you really fancied machine-type decks growing up.
Still do. Wish they were not all dependent on just Cyber Dragon. Would like more machines.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's kind of how I feel. I actually think I like that. I just remembered his crony's name, Bones. I've been forgetting his name all day, but I actually think I might prefer the Joey versus Bones duel to this duel. But I do really like the Yugi versus Mai duel, and I think coming back to that one, it was a more pleasant of a surprise to kind of see how they handled that, especially in the manga. The Joey versus Bandit Keith duel is... I thought I was going to enjoy it a little more, and I do enjoy it for what it is, but it's kind of fine. It does what it's supposed to do. I guess maybe I just don't like Bandit Keith as an antagonist really too much, so I don't really care.
Compared to every other antagonist, even ones like Weevil, he's not that deep, and his problem isn't even with any of the protagonists. Like, in another world, he's with the friendship squad as, like, the legal adult with a car to drive the kids to soccer practice, who also hates the evil bad man.
Yeah, it's just...
He's an ass about it, so we can't be friends with him.
He's kind of just like an asshole, and that's really it. That's all it really is to his character. He's just an asshole looking for revenge. There's not much to him. I think the most towards him is how much he likes to scheme and go with shortcuts to get what he wants, and that's ultimately his downfall. But other than that, it's kind of like over with. So
maybe there's an argument that he's sort of like a dark mirror version of Joey.
Sure, I guess you can make that argument. I could see that kind of parallel, especially it is very appropriate that Joey was the one to duel him and win. It was exactly what needed to happen narratively. I just don't personally think Bandit Keith was all that exciting of a foe. And weirdly enough, this was like the first time I feel like I didn't have to, the protagonist is going to win, but going through these matches and we're watching them and everything, I just didn't feel that same kind of like struggle.
Tension.
Yeah, exactly. Like I felt more tension with the other duels than I did with this duel, where I kind of just felt like maybe that's what it was meant to be, a kind of like, oh, you think it's going to be a harder duel because Bandit Keith is the more experienced duelist and Joey is trouncing the fuck out of him for the most of the time. But it kind of loses that tension because all you have going for it is, okay, Joey's facing a much more experienced duelist in the final match. But shocker, that's what he would do anyway. So whatever. Is what it is. I definitely enjoyed the Yugi and Mai match more than this one. But I do love Joey.
Yeah, it's always fun to see Joey. Old Joseph.
So yeah, we will get into Yugi versus Joey, and then we will touch on Yugi and Pegasus's final duel because it's not. Listen, I don't even want to say it's spoilers because in the manga they don't even duel, so it was always going to be Yugi. I think that's not really even a spoiler. It was always going to be Yugi.
Oh yeah, Hundo P. He's named. The show is his name.
It's literally his name. Well, on that note, do you want to kind of do your social media plugs?
I would love to, folks. If you're out there in the world, you would love to know what I'm doing in my spare time, and that's playing video games. And the place you can go to watch me play these video games is twitch.tv/PhoenixFarce or youtube.com/PhoenixFarce. That's PhoenixFarce. There you can find me playing various video games, most of which are card related. Play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, playing some MTG Arena, Marvel Snap, and the sort. Sometimes I break into other stuff, some more long-form stuff. Typically, it'll be some sort of horror series. But that's the place you can go to find me bitching about how much I hate the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta all the time, always, forever. God, I hate Kashtira. It's so dumb. It's so bad. No one at Konami Playtests who allowed this. I'm fine. Where can people find you on the internet, Andy?
You can find me on Instagram at apappasergi, PAPPASERGI. Oh, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram and anywhere your podcasts are streamed, hopefully. That's really it. You can find all those links below. All right, let's signing off. My name's Andy.
I've been Phoenix.
Giddy up and goodbye.
Justice for Mai!